10 whole years I've been out in this desert. It's been 10 whole years since my last venture into the world of Zoo Tycoon. I tried to make the best zoo the world has ever seen, but it blew up in my face, and now I'm left with nothing. But there is still hope. I will be the owner of the world's #1 zoo. I just have to think outside the box. Yes, that's it. Instead of making the best zoo possible, I'll make the worst zoo possible. It'll be so bad and so controversial that people will just have to come and visit. You know what they say, all publicity is good publicity. Come with me then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as I attempt to make the worst zoo ever made using the power of Zoo Tycoon 2. Anybody and their grandma can make a bad zoo, but it takes a real master, a true wise man to make a really truly terrible one. If my plan was going to succeed, I would have to experiment with every trick in the book. The ultimate goal being to make an advert so shocking and controversial that it goes viral and the zoo becomes famous. I arrived on location somewhere around Paris, France, and was happy with what I saw. Soon this beautiful countryside would be a sightseer's nightmare. Welcome everyone to Paradise Zoo. I began work on the zoo entrance and I intended to start strong. Right from the off, we have to let our customers know that they're in for the worst experience of their lives. Not only that, but I'm gonna make them work for it. To reach the zoo, people should have to walk for hours, if not days. Therefore, I made the path snake around on itself several times. Moreover, that walk can't be a comfortable experience. I added fog machines down the sides, making it harder for guests to know where they're going. And just for good measure, a couple of snow machines as you reach the entrance, meaning you'll be soaking wet for the whole time you're visiting. Imagine turning up to any sort of park or fun place to go and then just being drenched at the door. In you go then, have fun. By now you might be wondering what the point of walking all this way was, and it was of course to see our 3 compost buildings. I've even placed some benches so you can sit down while you're having a spot of lunch and really take in their beauty. And now that we have the grand entrance sorted, it was time to start experimenting with animals. All good zoos need animals, but what I've noticed about most zoos is they waste a lot of space by giving each animal its own exhibit. My thought was, why not just put all of the animals in one exhibit? I started off by creating a small pond with just enough space to fit 4 dolphins in. I know it might look a bit cramped, but dolphins are actually very fond of small enclosed spaces, which is why in the wild they live in the open ocean. Wait, what? To give the dolphins some company, I thought they could share an enclosure with a couple of Bengal tigers. 6 of them to be exact. This turned out to be a very bad decision. I really don't know what I expected. The tigers immediately all jumped into the water and started to prey on the dolphins. Luckily for the dolphins though, arguments soon broke out between the tigers over whose kill it was, and they started to fight between each other. This brawl continued on and on until only one tiger was still standing. Therefore, I thought it appropriate to give him a name. How about Serial Killer? I also assigned a zookeeper to take care of Serial Killer, and this guy must have balls of steel because this tiger has 5 confirmed kills right now. If having lots of different animals in the same pen didn't work, then what about having a load of the same animals? I thought about it carefully and settled on the tortoise because they're probably the least aggressive animal I can think of. I then started placing and placing and placing until I had over 150 tortoises. In theory, this was quite the spectacle, and it certainly would attract people to our zoo, but there was one problem. The game was going haywire and my computer was really struggling, so I had to find a way to remove these tortoises quickly or the game was going to crash. Introducing the Stochosaurus. I thought maybe if I put a carnivorous dinosaur in there, it might deal with our tortoise plague quicker than it would be if I removed them one by one. Unfortunately, the Stochontrentosaurus or whatever it was called didn't quite get the memo, and after killing only a few, instead started breaking down the fences, allowing the tortoises to make their great escape. I wasn't too bothered about this though, as they won't be getting anywhere very quickly. I was more alarmed by the notification saying that 2 of our remaining dolphins had managed to beach themselves on dry land. It was clear to me now that this whole dolphin-tiger situation wasn't going to work out, so I made a new little pool off to the side and moved the dolphins over to there. And to be honest, at this point I was kind of done with animals in general, so I decided for my next exhibit I'd have something a little more tame, something that would excite the general public but wouldn't need all this care and attention that other animals seem to need. This would be the bin exhibit. I treated the bins as I would any other species. I gave them trees just in case they want to do some climbing. I gave them some food to eat. I'm assuming they're carnivorous, but it's hard to tell. Regardless, this was my first good exhibit and I was feeling pretty happy about it. This happiness didn't last for long though, as I received a message saying the dolphins had managed to beach themselves again. Someone please explain to me how this is even possible. This dolphin has managed to get from there all the way to there. Something twisted is going on here. Back in the tortoise enclosure, and I'm sad to say our dinosaur friend wasn't making satisfying progress. So I got rid of him and replaced him with 4 massive raptors. And they really did a number on them. I mean, there were carcasses popping up everywhere. The main problem with raptors though is they do get a bit carried away. A couple of times they did start rampaging around, and tragically one of the raptors actually destroyed one of our prize compost buildings. So we had to be shot. I mean, put to sleep. But yeah, put to sleep. The important thing was that our tortoise situation had been swiftly dealt with, and the public could once again feel secure. Although this guest, J. Emmanuel, seems to have had a terrible time. Help! African tortoise 91 is chasing me! Okay, now that things have calmed down, let's take stock of where we are. We have 2 compost buildings, 1 broken compost building. We have 1 surviving dolphin who seems to be doing fine. Oh no wait, he's beached himself. Well, there goes that. We have 2 carcass exhibits. Serial killer is nowhere to be seen, which is a tiny bit concerning. And we have an exhibit full of bins. I'd say it's going pretty well so far. Almost too well. Let's see how we can make this zoo worse. I got thinking, how could we prank our visitors even more? What if we give them the expectation of seeing some wild animals, but then take it away at the last second? I started to make a huge enclosure. And what would be in this enclosure? Some giraffes maybe? A herd of moose? No. A single koala. It's perfect. You know that somewhere in this enclosure there is a koala, but you'll never see it. Daddy, I want to go see the koalas. Why, of course, son. Let's take a look. Is that it? No? Over there maybe? I then threw down a couple of donation boxes just in case people are feeling extra generous after such an awful experience. And to make it even more awful, I thought I'd try and obscure the habitat by installing a large raised food court above where the koala is hiding. Although this does block out pretty much all sunlight beneath, it at least provides visitors with a nice aerial view of the park. Not to mention, the food here is great. Just look at the amount of hot dog stands that you can choose to order from. Don't feel like eating hot dogs? Why not try some of our hot dogs? And then just to round the whole area off, I thought I'd install a massive pirate ship. To be honest though, in my heart of hearts, I still felt unsatisfied. Sure, this raised platform did have a nice view, but did it really take our visitors high enough? I want them to be able to truly feel like they're up in the clouds, like a parrot, or a flamingo, or some other animal that we don't have at the zoo. Suddenly, the answer was staring me straight in the face. A Skyrail. For those who don't know what a Skyrail is, it's kind of like a chairlift when you go skiing, only without the anticipation of doing anything fun once you reach your destination. The Skyrail needed to cover the whole park, and I think you'll agree with me when I say it really does help show off the zoo to its full extent. Wow, I can almost see the koala from here, and look what a wonderful view of the carcass exhibit. This zoo is getting a bit too good for my liking, I thought as I placed down 27 reptile houses. I realise it's very unlikely anyone will ever see that koala, but there's still a small chance, and that annoys me. I needed to make a habitat which couldn't possibly be seen by anyone ever. Without any more thought, I began work on the elephant enclosure. I deliberately chose elephants because they're a beautiful and intelligent creature, which are incredibly interesting to observe, making it even more heartbreaking when I build a huge wall around them. Excellent, nothing will ever get in or ever get out. Because of course, at this zoo, it's not about the viewing of animals, it is in fact about the viewing of you. Not quite sure what I mean by that, allow me to take you through my next few genius exhibits. The first exhibit will be the lion exhibit. Sorry, the lion mascot exhibit. That's right, at this zoo we don't just have animals, we have people dressed as animals as well. Want to see some dinosaurs? Here, take a look at these perfectly real and normal dinosaurs. I thought that using people as attractions was a brilliant move on my part. People love to watch other people. That's why shows like Love Island or Takeshi's Castle exist. I made another enclosure, but this time it was full of zookeepers. And finally, I grabbed a couple of random visitors such as Fernando Shock and Hung Fu Jamison to make up the last exhibit. Unfortunately, at this point, the sheer power I possessed had started to go to my head. I stood there laughing as hordes of people in dinosaur costumes ran about their pen. It was safe to say that I'd gone completely mad, and my next move showed just this. I began placing an unprecedented amount of fish, for no real rhyme or reason. Before long, there were more Arctic cod in my zoo than in the actual ocean, and even then I kept going and kept going until my computer was down to about 2 frames a second. Unsurprisingly, just moments later, my game crashed. This gave me a real chance to evaluate the choices I'd taken up to this point. How did it come to this? I'm a world famous zoologist, and yet here I am making the worst zoo possible. It was at this point I decided enough was enough, and I started making an actual zoo, something I could be proud of. And honestly, it was going really well. I brought in some pandas. Aren't they cute? Next I went for some orangutans, beautiful, intelligent creatures. Then I thought I'd go for some bigger customers, a couple of musk oxen, and finally, from the swamps of Africa, a nice pair of hippopotamus. Things were going great. My zoo was nicer than ever before, and as a result, crowds of people had begun to enter the park. Yes, this zoo really is quite the spectacle. It's too nice to miss out on. Everyone must visit. If only there was some way to let everyone see what a wonderful bunch of habitats I've created. And then it hit me. A jeep tour. I'll have a jeep tour around the exhibits. It's okay, the animals won't mind. It'll go into the hippos, and then out again, and then back into the hippos, and then across to the muskoxes, and then all the way around and across to the orangutans, and then back to the muskoxes, and then it'll go back through the hippos, and we can start all over again. And I want as many people as possible to see it, so let's get quite a few jeeps here. Wow, this is so nice. This is great. Look, you know, people might think this is going to disturb the animals, but I don't see the problem. It's fine, honestly. The animals love it. I just don't even see any problems. It's not even dangerous at all. It's also really safe, and the animals don't even mind it. Hey, get out of the way. I'm trying to run a tour here. Thank you, Jesus. He just wants to hog all the attention. It's not about you. As I was saying, though, I really don't see the problem with it. Look, see, the animals are having a great time. Moreover, you get a lovely view of the jeeps if you go on the Skyrail. With this, my zoo was very nearly finished. It had the relaxation, it had the wonder. The only thing it was lacking now was a bit of excitement, a little bit of thrill. And for that, I had the perfect idea. A rumble pit. I began digging a large sort of gladiatorial battle arena, if you will, and my plan was to reenact what had happened in the carcass exhibit earlier, except this time we would sell tickets and make a huge amount of money. Without further ado, I started to set up the first event. The first competitor strikes fear into the hearts of people everywhere. The aardvark. He would be facing up against a monitor lizard, an Utheraptor, a leatherback turtle, and a pack of wolves. Personally, my money's on the turtle, and the whole crowd were rooting for him too. In an instant, the battle had begun. The wolves started advancing on the turtle, but he was too intimidating, so they instead set about taking out the monitor lizard. And before long, the aardvark had also suffered the same fate. Now it was a 3-way tie. I decided to give the turtle a bit of water, just to even out the balance, you know, but that didn't stop those pesky wolves from giving him all kinds of trouble. What it did do though was make life much more difficult for the Utheraptor, who couldn't swim very well, and accidentally managed to nearly drown himself in the turtle's pool. The turtle was driven out by the sheer commotion, leaving him a sitting duck on land. To make matters worse, the Utheraptor performed some sort of wizardry and managed to levitate himself out of the water. However, the raptor had a craving for wolf, and he proceeded to pick them off one by one. The wolves were on the back foot, and oh for God's sake, the raptor's drowning again. Right, I give up at this point. Having set up the rumble pit, the zoo was now completed. All that was left to do was send out an advertisement and wait for it to go viral. At Paradise Zoo, we bring the exciting world of wildlife to you. Through these gates lies a whole world of adventure. Take in the beauty of our compost buildings whilst being soaked by a snow machine. Contemplate the meaning of life next to the carcass exhibits, or see if you can find a dolphin in our dolphin pond, or even outside our dolphin pond. Wow, a chameleon! Hear that? It's the sound of a herd of bins getting ready for migrating season. Want to see some actual animals? Why not try and spot the koala? He hasn't been seen in years. And if scouting from the ground level doesn't work, you could always try catching the views from our raised food court, or even take a nice trip on our Skyrail, from which you can almost see the elephants. If a tour is what you're searching for, then you have to try the Jeep ride, in which we'll take you deep into the heart of the animal kingdom. Say hello to the hippos, wave at the orangutans, and ignore the roadkill. Oh boy, another chameleon! Feeling fired up? Why not head down to the Colosseum and join the crowds of bloodthirsty spectators? Today's event is wolves against... Hang on, the raptor is escaping! Everybody run! Run for your lives! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Be at one with nature, here at Paradise Zoo.